Good morning, guys. It's Kevin back with another reaction video. Last night I did the gravestones announcement reaction video, which seemed to have a lot of views and a lot of comments. So it kind of led me into, I guess at one point in the video I mentioned about knowing that Tom did some sort of ghost story or something like that on YouTube. And quite a few of you commented that the ghost story was really cool, or that I should take a look at the ghost story. So you know what? Why not do that? I am a big fan of horror, I guess. I don't know if I should say a big fan. I'm definitely interested in ghosts and the paranormal and that kind of stuff. So when I saw that he had something like this, I thought, hey, maybe at some point we should get to checking it out. So that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be a little different than some of the other stuff we've seen from Tom. However, I've been told it's good. So we're going to press play here. We're going to let Tom tell his story. And as we know, he's a great storyteller. We can see that in his lyrics. Former pro wrestler, so he used to tell stories in a different way in terms of that too. And I'm interested in what he can do here with a scary story. So piqued my curiosity, and we're going to give it a go. So let's take a look.
Welcome to Ghost Stories with yours truly, Tom MacDonald. We're going to have to take a trip in the Wayback Machine for this one, because this happened a long time ago. The year is 2012. Thankfully, the Mayan calendar was wrong, and the much publicized end of the world didn't come. But it still got weird. It still got really weird. This all started with a music video shoot in the small Canadian town, abandoned Canadian town of Tranquil. But it wasn't until after this
Oh shit, I actually know a little bit about this place. Man, that's actually real. Did he say it was in Quebec or Ontario?
whole ordeal, it wasn't.
Sorry guys, I'll let him play out a little bit more for you guys to listen and not cut him off mid-sentence or anything like that. But I do believe I did some research on this town one time. I think my friend had told me about all these ghost towns, that had been abandoned, that were in either slightly northern Quebec or Ontario. I can't remember. Maybe I'll message him and find out. But that name sounded familiar, Tranquil. If I'm not mistaken from my research, I think it had like one of the highest points in Canada. So elevation-wise, and may have been used as like a base to spy on the Russians in the Cold War. I don't know. I think I remember hearing about that about 10 years ago, or doing a little bit of research on it. So I could be wrong, and we'll let Tom play out and tell me if I'm right or wrong here.
Until after everything that I'm about to tell you, it wasn't until after all of that we found out that Tranquil is actually one of the most haunted places in North America. Let's start from the beginning. So there was three of us. There was myself, the music video director, and my producer at the time, Olivier. We all piled into a vehicle on a Friday afternoon and started the long drive to a long-forgotten corner of the Canadian Pacific Northwest. We were unknowingly embarking on what would turn out to be one of the most terrifying experiences of all of our lives.
I do believe I'm wrong, guys. I think he said northwest, which is definitely, we're southern east, where I am now, southeastern Canada. So, Tranquil. I'm probably getting my facts wrong. I mean, it's first thing in the morning. I definitely confuse things, but either way, we're gonna let Tom talk a little bit more. But I guess my information was wrong. Sorry about that, guys.
Aside from a traffic jam on the highway, it was a rather long and uneventful drive. As we drew closer and closer to Tranquil, things gradually became more and more desolate. The cars that we were sharing the highway with gradually disappeared. The streetlights gave way to pine trees, and the tiny communities that just dot the edges of the asphalt were just eventually swallowed up by the suffocating Canadian wilderness. Paved roads turned to gravel, and the gravel roads turned to dirt roads, and the vast forest around us just seemed to entirely close in. And when the paved roads turned to gravel roads and the gravel roads turned to dirt roads, that's when we reached the Iron Gates. Our final destination, Tranquil, had been cut off from the rest of the world for quite some time. Essentially, Tranquil was home to Canadians who had tuberculosis, and at the time, tuberculosis was incurable and highly infectious. Sound familiar? They pretty much shipped everyone in Canada who had.
Guys, I didn't know when this was made. I kind of thought this was maybe a little bit older. I should have realized with the facial tattoos that this was more recent. But I like that reference there.
Had tuberculosis. They shipped all of those people to Tranquil, this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, and they shipped them there to, well, die, essentially. Anyway, we didn't know any of that. All we knew was we had to shoot a music video, and this was the perfect place to do it, and we were going to get it done. So there we were in the middle of nowhere. We pulled the car over to the side of the dirt road. We unpacked everything we needed, lights and cameras and bags and outfits and all that stuff, and we cut into the trees to get around the iron gate that was blocking the road, and we were on our way. So after a short hike through the trees, we came up over the top of a hill, and there it was. Just silent and still and forgotten. There were schools and houses and convenience stores and hospitals and libraries and paint chips just peeling off the outside of the exteriors of these buildings, just flapping in the wind. Just
Sorry, I'm going to let it finish this thought.
Seemed like they were just clinging to a time a little less lonely. We had arrived.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. That is really, really neat. So far, this story is pretty cool. It's visually, it's neat because you're kind of, Tom is throwing in a lot of elements to help describe the situation. I mean, like being swallowed by a forest and not being surrounded by real roads would give you really a good and interesting perspective as to where the hell you are and how abandoned it literally is and how desolate and I don't know. It just he's painting a great picture for me in my mind, and man, I don't know. I mean, like I'm getting a little queasy. I haven't seeked out abandoned buildings with such energy that Tom has, and but I mean, like I've definitely done some exploring in my past, and checked out some buildings that I probably shouldn't have been in. However, if I knew that they were haunted or someone had reported that they were haunted, I probably wouldn't be checking those places out, even with one or two friends. I am not as adventurous or daring as this man right here. But I really like, even visually, this is really cool too, because like, here's Tom talking, and they're doing some close-ups, some backtracking, splicing in a couple little effects every now and then. This is a really easy watch for me.
At Tranquil. So we made our way down the hill, and we crossed the train tracks that encircled the town, and there was no signs of life. And when I say no signs of life, I mean nothing. No birds, no coyotes, no bugs, no nothing. Nothing like what you would expect of a town encapsulated in a massive forest in the middle of nowhere. So we made our way towards the 3 dilapidated houses. They were just on the outskirts of town, and they were identical. And they sat all in a row. Same paint, same windows, same doors, same front steps. Each house as perfectly the same as the next. Anyway, as we got closer, you could practically hear these houses moaning from years of being neglected and years without maintenance. It almost felt and sounded like something was stirring around inside them, and to be completely honest, I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to find out what that something was. But it turns out that I didn't have a choice. While I was standing there just sort of lost in thought and just gripped by this almost tangible apprehension about the situation at hand, something emerged from the middle house. 2 teenage kids, and we stopped dead in our tracks. So it was this boy and this girl, and they sort of like bounced toward us across this like sun-bleached pavement, and their demeanor was weird. So they got close enough to us, and I said to the boy, I said, "What are you guys doing here?" And like I said, their demeanor was strange. Well, maybe strange isn't the right word. Their demeanor just did not fit the situation. They were just like smiling and happy, and they seemed like they were excited to see us. And to me, That that didn't fit the vibe. So the boy spoke first, and he said, "We're just hanging out, just checking out the abandoned town, and we're filming it with this camcorder." And I was like, "Cool. Well, did you see anything weird?" And he said, "Nope, not yet." And then the girl just like interjected, and she was like, "Oh, be careful in the houses. Like a lot of the floors are rotting, and if you go upstairs, you could fall through, and it's really friggin' dangerous." I don't really remember much else about that conversation. It was maybe like 3 minutes long, and they darted off in the other direction, and we just continued on our way.
So I wanted to pause it right there. It seemed like a good point. Yeah, man. There are some people I've discovered on YouTube, and they do some of these like abandoned. Take a look at these abandoned places, abandoned hotels, abandoned insane asylums, and it's an eerie feeling. And like this, what Tom just brought up too. I mean, like you go into a house that has been abandoned for years and years. You don't know when the last time is someone was in this little town. You don't know when the last time is they've been in that house, and you trip and fall. Boards break, something like that. You end up in a basement with your leg broken. You're kind of screwed. People don't really know you're there. With the description Tom is painting here, I'm going to assume that cell phones weren't working. Oh man, that sounds. This is a creepy story already, and I mean, like it's a sunny Wednesday morning here, and I'm already kind of getting a little bit of goosebumps. Let me know if you guys believe in ghosts or not. I don't know. I've always had a curiosity about them, and about 12 years ago, I saw something in my basement that really had an effect on me, and kind of, it's something I never forgot about to this day. So either way, maybe one time I'll tell that story for, that's another day though. We'll worry about that then. And I don't know. I'm really liking this video. Something different from Tom. And Tom, you're definitely entertaining me here so far.
So we went into the house that our new friends just emerged from, and the girl wasn't lying. There was a massive hole in the ceiling of the living room where it looked like something on the top floor had fallen through and landed in a giant heap of rubble just sitting on the floor in the living room. It was trippy. So the more we explored, the weirder it got. Like inside the school, there was 3 inches of dust on the desks, and the day's lessons were still scribbled on the chalkboard, and there was pencils and erasers just littered about all the workstations. And if you picked anything up, you'd leave a perfect impression of whatever you picked up on the surface that you picked it up off of. Like, this stuff literally hadn't been touched in years. After roaming through like half a dozen buildings, we had finally made our decision where we were going to start shooting this music video, and we decided on, of course, the sanatorium. So we were walking down the main street on our way back to the hospital when I noticed something peculiar. Peculiar? When I noticed something up. There was this small white brick building that was just sort of jetting out of the dirt right on the edge of town. And we had a long day of shooting ahead of us, but Tranquil just felt like it was some sort of portal to like an alternate dimension, and we were just so captured by the mystery of this town that like work came second, and we just wanted to explore. So we took off towards that white building. So this building was essentially just like a brick box. It was maybe like 10 feet tall by 20 feet long and 20 feet wide, and it had one of those big metal doors on it. It was like like something that you'd see on a government building. It was that light green color, kind of like sun bleached by the sun. It was missing its doorknobs. I walked over, no windows on this thing, can't see inside. So I walk over to this big green door, and I put my hand inside where the doorknob's supposed to be, and I jerked the door open. So it was dark, and it was not the type of dark that you're familiar with. This wasn't like 1 a.m. in my house dark. This was like pitch blackness. But we're here to shoot a music video, right? So we got lights. So I grabbed one of the lights and I turned that motherfucker on. So when I turned the light on, there's nothing in this room. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's nothing on the walls, there's not even flooring. It's just plain concrete. It's as plain and white on the inside as it was on the outside, with the exception of one thing: a staircase.
Oh. We're just gonna pause it right there. I think I don't think I do half the stuff Tom has done in this story. And again, I'm not a very brave man. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not also that adventurous, but you are friggin' right. There is no way that I would be going into a stairwell in a town such as this, like Tom has described. Even with friends with me with lights, I'm just not having it. Man, Tom, you're a adventurous dude.
Going down. I'd be lying if I said we weren't scared, because we were freaked the out, man. But here's the thing about three dudes hanging out, is none of these dudes is going to admit to any of the other dudes that they're scared, because that's not what dudes do. So we're all terrified, but nobody's going to admit that they're terrified to anybody else. So in the greatest display of masterfully fabricated machismo in the history of mankind, we go down the stairs. We are so deep in denial and so unwilling to admit that we're afraid in front of another man that we forced ourselves to go down a set of stairs into a black hole inside an abandoned town in the middle of nowhere. And you know what? I could barely comprehend what was at the bottom of those stairs. Medical equipment everywhere. X-ray machines and surgery tables and scalpels and wheelchairs and rolling beds, just everywhere, all covered in dust, untouched for years. So there's 3 walls down here, and there's a doorway on each wall. No door, just a doorway. Ooh. So I shine the light through the first doorway, long concrete hall. I shine the light through the second doorway, long concrete hall. And then I shine the light through the third doorway. You guessed it. Long concrete hall.
Tom is painting a perfect picture. I will tell you guys, in the field, in the profession I'm in, this sort of thing happens often. I'm in charge of a cleaning crew. And we got some townhomes. And some of these townhomes are quite old. And all of these townhomes have a sub-basement that goes under the unit. And I'll tell you right now, when I'm doing some inspections and go downstairs there and take the odd look, pretty intimidating. Those pictures that Tom just posted are very similar to how they look. And you better make sure that those lights are working for me to get down there. And I definitely do it on a bright sunny day in hopes that just like the sunlight is a little bit more visible for me. But it's a pretty intimidating sight. So those pictures really do something like that justice. And I mean, like you go down somewhere like that, especially in a place like this, even with your friends, man, that would be very intimidating. I'm not going to lie.
Still neglecting the sheer terror that's permeating every cell in our bodies, we somehow choose a doorway, walk through it, and start our journey into the abyss. And what we found were just more concrete hallways and more wheelchairs and more rolling beds and more hallways and more doorways and more concrete halls. This was a labyrinth of underground concrete halls. And we decided it was a cool place to shoot a scene for a music video, so we started shooting a music video. I'm not even exaggerating. We probably had that camera turned on for 30 seconds before we had to turn it off because it started getting weird. I just remember saying, "Cut the camera." Did you guys hear that? And we all just stood there, just quiet and motionless in the 10-foot section of hallway that our lights would illuminate. And I am not kidding you. Somewhere out there, beyond where our lights could reach, footsteps. I remember my producer, Olivier, sort of laughing, like, no way. No way. We just stood there, frozen with fear. We just stood there and we just listened. And we heard voices. Voices somewhere way out there in that maze of concrete hallways, just echoing through everywhere. And I just said, yo, pack up the camera. Let's get the out of here now. As we're packing up to leave, I noticed that just out of our light's reach, I see a door. And it's a big-ass metal one. So I squeeze past Olivier, and I walk over to the door. It's this giant steel door, and it's just flush with the concrete inside this hallway. And I just push it open. It's the basement of a house. I just said, yo, shine that light over here. And there's another big metal door 6 feet away. And I walk up to it, and I push it open. Basement of a house. And then another door, and I push that open, and it's a basement of a house.
I just wanted to pause right there, but this is it's really interesting. So, from what I'm gathering, Tom kind of discovered this building, and it doesn't seem like it was a very big building. Tom went into the building and saw some some stairs. Went down the stairs and saw this, big cavern of all these, this maze of networking and hallways and things like that, which is pretty interesting. So I don't know if this town. I'm actually, after this video, I'm going to do some research on Tranquil and see if I can find a blueprint or something like that. But it almost looks like this was kind of one of those places that, I don't know, had access to many different buildings everywhere inside the town from underground, which is interesting. It's early in the morning, so it's possible that my coffee hasn't hit me and I'm not grasping everything in this story. But again, Tom's painting a really good picture. I'm kind of seeing what I'm, seeing in my mind what he's throwing down. He's got some pictures to reference it here, and it kind of sounds like that's what this town was all about. I mean, it's a small town too, so to gain access to various different buildings from underground is kind of, I guess, practical and convenient, especially if you're dealing with tuberculosis outbreak at the time. But I'm not sure. It's pretty interesting.
And as we walk out of this labyrinth of concrete hallways, more doors, more basements of more houses. So it was at this point that I realized that this wasn't a regular town. There was something going on here. Mm-hmm. Something that required every house in town to be accessible by these underground tunnels that all led to a massive underground medical lab. Needless to say, we needed to shoot this music video and get the hell out of there. By the time we found our way out of these underground tunnels and we reached the surface of Tranquil once again, it had gotten dark. And you know what's creepier than an abandoned town in the middle of nowhere with an underground mad scientist lab? A creepy-ass abandoned town in the middle of nowhere with an underground mad scientist lab in the dark, son. That being said, the next couple hours went by rather smoothly, and we got some cool shots and some cool places. We pretty much got everything we needed and had wrapped up the music video. But this is where the really haunted starts. We finish the shoot, pack up the gear, hike up the hill, sneak through the trees, go around the iron gate, and get back to the car. We've escaped Tranquil. Or so we thought. We load everything into the trunk of the car, and the director says, "Oh, I'm missing one of my lights. I'm missing a light." And I'm like, so what, dude? That light. Let's get the out of here. And the director goes, "Oh, well, it was a $1,200 light." And I said, I don't give a I'm not going back into the creepy abandoned town in the middle of nowhere with the underground mad scientist lab. I'm not going back. And Olivier says, I'm with Tom. I'm not going back either.
Sorry, guys. I just want to mention, is this maybe the guy he's referring to in the song No Response? I think at one point he mentions about having no producer. He told him he would kick his ass or something like that. Just the way he's referring to Olivier here makes me put two and two together and wondering if maybe that's the guy. Anyways, if you guys know, leave a comment in the comment section and let me know.
And the director says, somebody has to go back because I need that light, so let's all play rock, paper, scissors for it. And the loser goes back into the town to get the light. Look, I never like rock, paper, scissors. I hate that. When there's something that somebody has to do and it's an undesirable task, everybody's always like, let's play rock, paper, scissors. I hate rock, paper, scissors. It's an impossible game to win. I always lose. We agree we'll play rock, paper, scissors. Guess what?
Okay, I just wanted to finish there. Um, Tom's ability to just kind of throw in his humor is pretty awesome. I guess he's not a fan of rock paper scissors. I think it's also funny that Tom got grouped into this group of three. To one of them has to be the default guy to go find this lens. It should be the guy who wants his lens back. Tom's already said he wants nothing to do with it. So let's go back to the video.
I lose. Of course, I lose. But I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm acting like a child, and Olivier has always been the more mature of our sort of duo. So he stands up, and he's just sick of listening to us complain, and he goes, you know what? I will go back. I'll go back and get the light. Where is it? And the director says, it's in the sanatorium. Of course it's in the sanatorium. Where else would it be? Where else would the lost light be than the most haunted possible place in this abandoned town?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense for it to be anywhere else. Olivier goes, okay, cool, I'll go get the light. And with that, Olivier just turns and walks into the darkness. I turn to the director, and I'm just like, dude, give me a flashlight. You gotta understand, Olivier isn't just my producer at this point. He's my best friend. And I cannot, in good conscience, let my best friend wander back into an abandoned town to get somebody else's light by himself. I just can't do it. So I run to catch up with him. So I reach him and I'm like, I got us a flashlight. And Olivier turns and looks at me and he doesn't say anything. He just smiles, like a full teeth grin, like one of those smiles that somebody makes when they're terrified or when they're fully aware that they're making a very poor decision and they're about to do something really stupid. Through the forest, around the fence, up the hill, down into the valley, we are back in Tranquil. It's pitch black now, and I'm carrying this little rinky-dinky ass flashlight, and we're just navigating through the town, and we're on the way back to the sanatorium. I ask Olivier, where do you think, do you have any idea where we put this light? Olivier says, yeah, it's in the big main room. I saw him put it down there. I just don't like him, so I was just going to let him leave it there and hope that nobody noticed, and we just drive home, and we'd have a good chuckle about this later on. So somehow I managed to let out a muffled laugh because it's funny, but at the same time, it's the reason why I'm standing in an abandoned town in the middle of nowhere with a creepy-ass mad scientist underground lab at like 2 in the morning. We go up the old wooden stairs and push this giant creaky-ass door open and step inside the sanatorium, and we're at the end of this long hallway. And at the end of that long hallway, there's a giant, big, massive open room, and that's where the light is. So we start walking down this hallway, and there's doorways lining this hallway, and they're all the padded rooms that crazy people would hang out in. We get into the big main room, and as we enter this big main room, I shine the flashlight up on the wall, and just like this perfect, massive piece of art up on the wall, it is painted, "Please burn me down." Olivier says, oh, there's the light. Walks over, picks the light up, and now that we have this all-important light in our possession, we turn and start walking back down that hallway towards the main door. Now, what happens next is probably the most horrendous thing that I've ever witnessed in my life, and I'm sure Olivier would say the same thing. In fact, I might actually call him and get his account for this video. But what happens next is the single most horrendous thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. So like I said, the hallway is lined with doors on both sides, right? And they're like holding cells, or they're like padded rooms or something. You know the ones? Yeah, you know the ones. Now, I'm not exactly sure how to explain this. You know that feeling you get when somebody is watching you? Or you know when you see something out of the corner of your eye and you quickly turn your head and there's nothing there? Or you feel the hair raise up on the back of your neck like someone's standing behind you, but by the time you spin around to face it, it's gone? Okay, that happened to both of us at the exact same time.
All right, that's very, very creepy. Again, Tom is painting a perfect picture in terms of description and a visual for us to accompany in our minds. Um, creepy as creepy as hell, man. Seriously, I don't know if Tom. I guess he didn't mention about the two people they came across at the beginning, whether they were in a vehicle or not. I'm going to assume they weren't in a vehicle because, they came out of the house and kind of came out of nowhere. And Tom did say it was very desolate and there was nothing around. So, did these people flee on feet? And if so, where the hell were they going? Because Tom has said about how far this was and how remote this place was. So perhaps it's those people still sticking around. Maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they just hang out here all the time. Maybe they have kind of made their own little town inside this town. I don't know. But, he may actually end up answering that in the next 5 minutes. So bear with me here.
Except something was watching us. And that thing in the corner of your eye that you don't expect to see when you look, we saw it. And that thing that you feel behind you when the hair raises up on your neck and you spin around, and when you spin around it's gone, it was there when we spun around. In perfect synchronization, all this happened. We turn and shine the flashlight into the padded room next to us, and there it is. A shadow standing up from the floor. Not a shadow cast on the floor, a shadow standing up off the floor. It looked just like a person, except it wasn't a person. It was featureless and almost transparent and massive and daunting and rigidly standing there with its arms by its sides. You can't see from where you're at right now, but I have goosebumps all over me. And at the same time, we just started to run. We were so scared, and it was so dark. We were just like two frantic animals running from a predator. It was like some sort of primal survival instinct had taken over, and we were just absolutely frantic, and we were falling over each other and tripping over rubble and tripping over pieces of fallen wall and ladders and all of this stuff that we can't see in the dark. And somehow we made it to the front door. We kicked that motherfucker open and ran out into the middle of the street. And we didn't stop running. We weren't even thinking. We were just moving as fast as we could, as far away from whatever the hell that thing was, as far away as we could get. As fast as we could get there, we were going. And after running for what seemed like a marathon, we just finally stopped, and we almost collapsed on the ground, and we're just spinning our heads like a swivel from side to side, just trying to orient ourselves and gain some sort of information about where we had ran to. And I'm gasping for breath and looking around, and I'd say to Olivier, "Where are we?" And Olivier says, I don't know. And I pick the flashlight up and I flash it around and I'm looking. And that's when I have another terrifying realization and I say out loud, "Dude, we're lost." And we're so scared and it's so dark. And
Man, so now they're lost on top of that. So they're in a desolate town in the middle of nowhere. They've already seen and heard some creepy shit. It's now dark out, it's getting late, and now they don't know where the hell they are. Man, this story is creepy. Sorry, like I said at the beginning of this, guys, I saw something one time at my old house, and the description he's painting of it is not far off. I'll talk a little bit about it at the end of the video. We got 3 minutes to go.
this town is so big that we've completely lost ourselves in what's transpired here. Now, I remember Olivier gasping, "I think the car's that way." And he just kind of points out with one hand, just totally exhausted. So I turn the flashlight in the direction that he's pointing, and I shit you not, I take one step, and this flashlight flickers twice and dies.
Oh,
We're
man.
lost. It's dark. We have no flashlight, and there's that thing in the sanatorium. I honestly don't remember the next 30 minutes. And I don't remember the next 30 minutes because we were just running on pure adrenaline and racked with fear. But we found our way out. And this time when we crossed those train tracks and went up that hill, before going into that forest, we turned around and we looked down on Tranquil one last time. And guess what? The lights in the sanatorium were on. So we barreled through the trees and around the iron gate and over to the car. And I remember Olivier opening up the car door, and he's leaning the front seat forward, and he's scrambling to try and get into the back seat of the car. And I had just had enough. I remember putting my foot on his ass and just shoving him into the back of the car, standing the seat up, jumped in, slammed the door, and I just said, drive. The director started, oh, what happened? And I said, shut the up and drive. So we made it back home, mostly unscathed and in one piece. But you know what the craziest part of this whole thing was? You remember those kids I mentioned at the beginning of the story? Well, when I got home, I started Googling Tranquil. And I started researching that abandoned town. And that's when I found out that Tranquil was an abandoned town where people with tuberculosis would go and live out their final days. That's when I found out it was the most haunted place in North America. And that's also when I found out that those underground tunnels were used to remove the dead bodies from their houses without having to wheel corpses through the streets of the town and scare the shit out of all the children and everybody else living there. But the scariest thing I found out was that 10 years prior to our experience in Tranquil, 2 kids went out there ghost hunting.
Oh.
And they fell through the floor in one of the houses and died. A boy and a girl.
Oh, man. Holy shit, Tom hits us hard with something at the very end. Didn't really see that going that way. I did mention about how maybe they were still in the town and maybe that was what was leading to some of the sounds, but I never even really put 2 and 2 together. That is creepy as hell. Man, seriously, this video, I'm glad I chose this to do it early in the morning when it's sunny out because, again, I'm not the bravest person in the entire world, that's for sure. I really liked doing this, guys. I think it was a nice change of pace. It was something different. I don't know if Tom has more of these. Obviously, I had seen this when I started subscribing to Tom. I had seen it pop up, and I thought, oh, maybe it's just, he has this ghost hunting series on here or something, But after listening to this, I guess this is probably just a one-off because he's referring to this town, going there because he was creating a video, not because he was exploring haunted towns or anything. So, really, really cool. Tom, again, he's a great storyteller. He's a good wordsmith, and this one was interesting. I'm going to do my research on Tranquil. Also, I think the town I was referring to, it just popped into my head as we were going through this, but I think the town that's abandoned that I was referring to here earlier in the video is called High Point. I don't know if it's in Quebec. I don't know if it's in Ontario, but it's in one of the two. And from what I've been told, it's kind of one of the highest, pun fully intended, but one of the highest points in Northern Canada or Canada in general. And it was used as like a spy base or a radio tower back in the, I want to say Cold War. Again, I have not done research on that for about 10 years. It just kind of popped into my mind when we were talking about, when Tom was talking about some abandoned towns and Tranquil. So, interesting story. I'm really happy that we did this. Again, this is a change of pace for us. Guys, I have had a lot of traction over the last 24, 48 hours in terms of new subscribers and positive comments and just wonderful people reaching out to me. As I've said in the past, middle-aged guy reacts is somebody I really enjoy. I watch his videos. Sometimes I don't watch his videos because he is going down that Tom MacDonald rabbit hole, and I've seen him do some songs that I had planned on doing anyway. So that's one of the things I haven't watched on his video. But he reached out to me the other day and had given me a couple. You can see it in the comments section, but he'd given me a couple pointers for using this the software that I'm using currently for this production. So I had planned to tinker around with it last night and today, but last night kind of got away from me, and today I'm quite busy with work, so I may get to it in the afternoon. But the support from people that I actually look up to, such as Middle-Aged Guy, just fantastic. Like, I really, really appreciate it. It seems like we share some of the same audience. He's a member of Hangover Gang. I'm a member of Hangover Gang. So just continues to show the support that people can give to one another. What he's accomplished in such such a short time frame is truly remarkable. He's awesome. So check out his videos, especially if you're a fan of Tom MacDonald. The Applicable Journey, I like his videos too. He's got he's traveling down that Tom MacDonald rabbit hole too. So if you guys like either of those guys or have not checked them out but like Tom, I highly recommend it because they make some really good videos. Their production quality is above mine for sure, and I think they do a great job. They're very personable people, you can tell, and they have some good food for thought when they're talking videos. So good stuff on their part. 96 subscribers as of this morning. Guys, I know that you guys may not have heard about the group Philly Moves, but when I hit 100 subscribers, I would like to do a video and use those new subscribers as an opportunity to do a reaction video to two of my friends' rap group. Philly Moves is made up of Tragic and JD Hogg. Both of them I went to high school with. Tragic I actually went to elementary school with, and he was on my baseball team. We've known each other since we were about 8 or 9, and we talk once a week, at least once a week, while we watch the UFC. And he's somebody I really like. He's done some music. He has some videos on here. They're actually a really entertaining group. They haven't traveled or made any new recent music, but I thought, you know what? Just like people on here, the Hangover Gang, and how supportive people are on this community, I thought I would use my fame of 100 subscribers and try to get his name out there and see. So Tynan actually did open. His name is Tynan Tragic. He actually did open for Swollen Members years ago in, I think, Barcelona, or he did a tour with them in Europe. So really, really cool. Because of that, Swollen Members made up of Mad Child and Prevail. And Mad Child is somebody that has done music with Tom MacDonald. So why not use that 3 degrees of separation or whatever? And when I hit 100 subscribers, take a gamble and get some views for my friend and his group, and just be supportive of one another. So I think that would be good if you guys can take a minute when you do see that video to give it a listen, even if you are here mainly for the Tom MacDonald, even if you're here for Juice WRLD, even if you're here for Corpse or Struggle Jennings. If you could just maybe take a chance on one video and give my buddy some views and maybe get him back out there. Maybe, I know he's married, I know he's got a really great job right now, but I think it would be great to give him some play and you guys embrace and give him a listen to see if he's really for you guys or not. Great video here. Again, great change of pace. I really liked this. Tom, you have lived an interesting life, and this story is no exception. So thank you guys for checking this out. I really hope you liked the video. If you did, please click subscribe or click like or leave a comment for me. And if you've already subscribed and clicked like, then leave a comment for me. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. If there is another video like this from Tom, because I would definitely like to talk about it and definitely listen to more of these kind of things. Also, guys, if you guys can find or know of anywhere where I can get like 2 or 3 pro wrestling matches from Tom MacDonald, I would love to do a reaction video here on Tom MacDonald's wrestling career, being that I am a wrestling fan and know my fair share about pro wrestling. True fact, I actually wanted to be a pro wrestler, went to a pro wrestling school over here in Ottawa years and years ago, and failed miserably because even though I was in shape at that time, I was in nowhere near the shape you needed to be for it. But maybe I'll get to that story one day. Either way, guys, I really hope you liked the video, and check back later this week. 96 subscribers. Once we hit 100, I would love to do that for Philly Moves, and I really hope you guys can support and watch the video and just give it a shot too. Take care, guys. Have a good one.